That just showing like God's love for you. That God is willing to do stuff to you that will hurt you in a sense, but I'm talking about just hurting your flesh, not really hurting you because it's good for you, because He loves you. That's what I think any good parent would do when they discipline you or do things that's helping to guide you to get you to where they want you to be better than you are now. So that's just a situation where someone could look at self-pity and say, oh my gosh, this poor lady. But then you're just leaving her to herself to die. She would have died in that situation.
So that was God's love.
That was God's grace, His love stepping in that situation to save her. Mm-hmm. So He knows what it took, even if it may hurt your flesh. Mm-hmm. I mean, yeah.
Well, what I see in just that is He was taking her way out of her way. Because we all have a way to save ourselves. You know, He was removing that plan that she had and requiring her to trust Him. Because her plan was to make this and die. Because that was her plan. And God said, no, your plan ain't gonna work. Give it to me and watch me do what I do. And that's the whole thing about trusting God. Like, you know, talking about giving, like him and I, we don't live extravagantly. And I remember we came to a crossroads and, you know, it was getting tight and stuff. And we looked at our giving. Now, we know we're going to tithe. We never not going to touch a tithe, but our giving, I'm like, bro, how much money are we giving? I was like, we're giving a mortgage. Like, what are you talking about? Like, why, how are we even surviving? Like, I know it's the grace of God. I know it is the seed time and harvest, and it really works. Because the amount of money we give, we should not, like, if we could take that money and somebody will look at it like, y'all are dumb. Why are you giving this much money? This is your bill. This is this, whatever. You can pay everything. And it's like, but no, we can't afford not to give. Because this is what has been keeping us afloat this whole entire time.
I don't know no other way to do it.
I mean, the favor of God has always stepped in and provided for us. Yes. And it's just like, and now we're on the road to buying a home. And it's like, why are we doing this? Because on paper, it don't look like we should be doing this.
So remember I said, it don't make sense. It makes faith.
It makes faith.
And that's what it is. You have to do it by faith. And that's what you're doing. There ain't no other way you can do that but by faith. That giving. And the same thing. We give way more than what even seen. I don't know where it even comes from that we're doing this. And here we are living in this home, paying this mortgage that, like I said one time before, we couldn't even pay a little measly rent.
Look, look, for those people
it works.
That are still saying, yeah. See, the thing about me and about us, we're not embarrassed because all that stuff is who we used to be, who we are now. We've been in this house for a year and a few months. Prior to this, we lived in a townhouse, which was a graduation from an apartment we had just a year.
Which was a graduation from the apartment he just spoke of, was a graduation from a bedroom we lived with another family.
Right. So, and in that apartment, which is...
Y'all basically lived in a apartment. I lived in a shed. Y'all lived in a shed.
So that's why you can't tell us.
That's right.
When you don't have nothing. We actually were, I guess, would be considered homeless, I guess, really. But God never, let it get to that place where we was on the street.
That's right. And
we never felt that. We never sensed that homelessness.
That's right. And even with making wrong decisions, God was still able to get involved in our stuff. When we had that first house over there on 3rd Street, we bought that house, and the interest rate was ridiculous. And I mean, we struggled, but we kept tithing and giving, to the point to where the bank decided they were going to foreclose on the house, and there was nothing we could do about it. Okay, that's not going to stop us from tithing and giving.
Like what Jalen said earlier about,
y'all can have a house. Now, most people in a situation like that, they get mad at the bank. They get mad. First of all, why we get mad at the bank? We're the ones that signed the contract. So they expect us to meet our obligation. So when they finally had enough, said, no, we're going to take it back. So they took it back. But let me tell you about the favor of God. Never once did a sign show up in our front yard that said it was being foreclosed on. When the bank started getting us in touch with the local landlord and the person that they were going to have, take the house over, they called us and said we need to do an inspection. We moved out prior to the deadline that they gave us, and when we moved out, we cleaned it up, left it nice. When I went back to meet the realtor that they sent and the man that did the inspection of the house, he walked in the front door and he looked around, And the first question he asked was, "Is this a foreclosure?" And we both, me and the other lady, said yes. And I said I wasn't embarrassed by it because I shouldn't have been in there in the first place. He was like, "I have never been in." He comes in to take pictures and all that stuff. He took very few pictures. He said, "I've never been in a foreclosed house where it's this
because
clean."
people leave angry.
Mm-hmm.
And
They
now-
holes in the
bust
wall.
holes in
Yeah.
the walls. They pour stuff. My brother, matter of fact, had a situation where he's got a house that he's renting, and he had to put the people out because they wasn't paying the rent, and they put cement down in his pipes. You know, people do things out of anger.
Yeah.
I can't pay my rent.
Yeah,
You know,
Yeah.
like that's not my fault. You know,
Yeah.
so like you said, we left it nice, and they couldn't believe it, and then we went on about our business, moved in with another family into their little house. My son's living in the garage, and we live in one bedroom.
Yeah, well, let me.
But God is still moving
That's right.
this whole time while we're over here living with this other family.
And see, it goes even deeper than that. Because here it was, we lost the house. Oh, they supposed to be Christian people. God's supposed to be doing. What's happening? What they doing? We never relented on the tithe and the giving. So, we moved out, as I said, before we had to. The lady called me on the phone and said, "Okay, Mr. Barnes, we're getting close to being ready to sign everything and make it final. You haven't gotten all your stuff out the house yet, have you?" And I was like, "Yeah." She said, "No, you haven't gotten all your stuff out the house yet, have you?" And I'm like, "Yeah." When she said it the third time, something clicked. All she was trying to say was, based on the way you left the house, how you haven't been a problem, the bank, because you did all of this, they want to give you $1,000. So, they gave us $1,000. What did we do with that $1,000? We completely turned it around and sold it. Because what was it going to do for us? What was $1,000 going to do for
we
us?
saw that as opportunity because
Yeah.
we knew God did that. So why spend that $1,000 on what? Like you said, we
And
turned
this-
our whole $1,000 around and sold it right into the ministry.
And what's this, 5 years later, 6 years later, we got another house. But see, even into that, they foreclosed, we went on. I started getting stuff in the mail. When we start talking about these predatory lenders and all of that. Well, it turns out our lender was a predatory lender. So I get these little, you ever get those little like index cards that
Yep.
come in and say,
Last action.
most people throw them away. My wife would say, "Not this guy. I don't throw them away." So I did what it said and I sent it in. This was years later. Next thing I know, we get something that said, "You," yeah, look,
Research.
because of this predatory loan, the government sued them, and as a result, you get like almost $8,000 we got back. 2-3 years later,
telling me.
I'm glad you did that.
2-3 years
You probably
later,
got some of that money some kind of way.
2 or 3 years later, I get another one. This is when we were living in the townhouse. And this is from the state, saying they're suing these companies. And they're like, and if you got any money from any other lawsuit, that there's no bearings on this. Now I think we got 12 or 1,300 back from that. Okay, we lost this house. We ended up with about 10 grand. A few years later.
Moving the house.
And then, when we was in that apartment, from the first month we moved in, we was paying the rent late. We was paying the rent late. God showed us we got to get out of there. We left. We went to that other situation that you were talking about. We got out of that. We went and got this townhouse. Now the realtor we had, she worked real hard because our record wasn't that great as far as paying rent. And she told us, she found us a nice townhouse. You cannot be late. Not 1 month, or else he's going to put you out. Now you talking about people, I told you that, but God favored us. We were never late in the 2 years that we lived in that townhouse. We were never late on our rent. Whereas prior to that, we had been.
And the lights were always on.
Yeah.
That's right.
That's right.
Yeah.
Always.
That's right. That's right. And
Nothing
then
was lacking.
we proved ourselves in that. We never stopped tithing. We never stopped giving. We increased our giving, to now, like they said.
Yeah, they give.
You know
they
what?
so
I bet
much,
if we
they
put
don't-
all of our stuff together,
people would
family
just-
would
people
give it.
would
They'd be
actually
like, what
pass
is
out.
wrong with them?
And we're not bragging, but y'all would pass out, and we would put all our giving out on the table, and how much we give per
I
month.
can remember my.
Your mind wouldn't be able to handle it. I'm telling you, you wouldn't be able to handle it.
My mom
You really
like-
would they? No, they wouldn't be able to
mom
handle
was
it.
like before we got married, you start working and everything, and she does tithe and offer statements, and she was like, "Did Jalen save any money?" I'm like, "What you save?" They like, "This boy, truly." Good job, Jalen. But like, it was almost concerning, like,
I know, because even then, but you gotta be careful.
and
with that.
I'm like,
Yeah,
"Is he saving
right?
any money?"
Yeah, I know. But see, on the other side is,
Yeah.
she
See,
goes
that's like
like,
dealing
woo.
with banks and the stock market and all that stuff. There's risk involved in that. Ain't no risk
And
involved.
in the kingdom. And look, there's nothing wrong with saving or anything like that.
No,
And I've done
we're
it
not saying
before.
that.
But what I found was my giving was always more effective than my saving ever
Yeah,
was.
well, the Bible
So,
says so. It's,
yeah.
it's Bible. Read your Bible.
when God rules my finances, He tells me to put money over here and save this, put it here and do that. I'm gonna do it. God has told me to spend money sometimes, and I spent it. But what I've always realized, my greatest investment has always been my giving. That's what's kept me afloat. That's
Oh my
kept me
gosh,
alive.
yes.
I remember my car that got flooded up to the console. We turned it on the next day after the flood went down. Water's coming out of the tailpipe. We're like, yeah, this is gonna be done. It kept running
For like another year.
for another year or so. For another year, that car kept running. We went on vacation with that car. We drove to Washington D.C.
Why?
and back. That car, it didn't die. It couldn't die. It was blessed. It was favored, and
And
it
it
was.
died at the point where we were able to afford to get
Get another
two
car.
new cars.
Yeah, God held His hand on it until it was time to get something new.
Yeah,
and he let it go.
That's how God is.
Oh, wait. Did you hear what she said? When that car died, there was it made it available for them to get two.
Oh yeah, we came back with two cars. After
Two
that,
cars.
that we could afford to pay for, and
And that's all because of our tithing and
And
giving.
each one of us can tell you that. We got stories. This one over here, we got to do a part 2 on this.
Mhm.
But no, you got to go ahead and leave. This one right here, we got to get him to tell you some of his stories. Talk about blessed.
Oh, we were
Talk about giving. See, as a young age, we taught them about tithing and giving. And our pastor said they were children and said they gave more than the adults. They gave like adults. Put it like that. They gave like adults. Or even more.
Yeah, no, that's
basically,
more
some adults don't
Yeah.
give more. But there's so much we can just share with you all. But
Please watch the
as-
podcast.
Yes, again.
Please go watch the
Tell them about that
podcast.
again.
Yeah, Rapture Go podcast. You can listen to it. RaptureMinistries.org. It's on several platforms: Spotify, iTunes, SoundCloud, everything. But just go to RaptureMinistries.org. On the front page, you'll see the Rapture Go podcast.
Or when you see this, you can like it or send us a message or however you
Yeah.
do that cool stuff. and we can
baby.
make sure you get it.
however y'all do that.
Yeah. I mean, we really. It works. That's all we say. It works. It's exciting. This is a good life.
The
Ain't it,
word
guys?
works
It
when
is.
you work
It
it.
is.
You know, we could talk so much about different instances in the word about tithing and giving. 3 John 2. John tells us about love. I
Wish above all
I wish
things.
above all things that thou mayest prosper and be in health, even as thy soul prospers. When he says prosper and be in health, he means have money, have good health, as your soul prospers. That was the key for us, from a spiritual perspective, understanding tithing and giving to allow our souls to prosper so we can prosper.
Yeah.
Now, are we where we would like to be? No.
Right,
Are we where God wants us to be? No, not yet. But we're on our way. And we we just believe it. Tithing works.
You want to know where God wants to take you ultimately, where we're going, that we're not there yet? The scripture that says that the people of God will be called the priests and the ministers of their God, and they shall eat the riches of the Gentiles, the world, and in their glory shall they boast themselves. So the place that God wants you is to devour the riches of the world and boast in it. And they won't like that. The world won't like it. But that's where He wants you to take it. They're going to call you a minister of God. You're going to eat their riches and you're going to boast in it. And that's where God wants you to go.
Yummy.
Amen. That is the truth. So please watch that podcast. Again, I said in our last video, but just in case you hadn't watched that one, when we refer to mom and dad, we're talking about our awesome pastors, Dr. Dell Davis and Pastor Diana Davis, but they are our spiritual parents, and we just call them mom and dad. Her natural parents. But please go to raptureministries.org. It will bless you. They're going to be doing more of these podcasts, so you just follow along with that. But we're going to be doing this on a regular basis. As a matter of fact, this topic is such a hot topic. I know this is very be helpful for people to be able to share our own testimonies, and that we do have proof. We lived this life, and we have lived this out, and we're still on this journey and going. As a matter of fact, the home that we're in right now, my husband and I, we're not staying here. We're moving on because God needs us to. So we want to really just get into some things because, as some Christians, they get this thought in their mind about being greedy or that's just way too much. Oh man, that bothers me when I hear that, because if you truly love God and understand what God's perfect will is and what He's desiring of us, He can't come down here and do what He needs to do. He uses us. So He got to put the money in our hands so that we can get the gospel out there. And if you love God, you love people, then you know it takes money to get the gospel out there. It takes money. So that's why we're not satisfied where we are. We know God got to continue to increase us because He sees our heart. He sees how much we're giving right now on this level. So of course He's going to increase us more. And I have great expectation. I mean, it won't be long before my bank account is overflowing. And God knows that's His money. He can get access to that money anytime He wants to. He knows that. Yeah. And He takes care of our needs and our desires. I get what I want. I do. Don't you get what you want? 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 It's not a struggle for us.
Yeah, and that's where it is. Because a lot of people say, well, it don't take all of that.
Oh, yeah,
No. Our mandate is individually, not just the fivefold ministry gift, is to go out and preach the gospel to all the world. Because you may not see that, and you can say, oh, they just want all that money so that they can consume it on themselves. No, I want wealth beyond what I can even dream of, because I'm tired of seeing people dependent on the government and on the system that is built to keep them down, to keep them in a place where they're dependent on them. When we can come in and fill some of those same needs and just say, look, all we require of you is to allow us to share the love of God. And people, you can say, well, that means I gotta listen to you. Every time you go dealing with the government for anything, they require something of you, and you're gonna give them no argument. They tell you gotta have this. They want your social security number. They tell you gotta be here or there this time of the year or this time. You show up without any questions asked because you know that they're gonna give you what they said. So why not get it in the area where you're free to get it? So I don't want to hear about, well, they just want money for themselves. My stuff is already taken care of. I want to help people like you and those that are out there hurting. Those people who, especially at this time of the year, don't have something. I don't want to just share the love of God with them through my words. I want to share it with them through my abundance.